Hi everybody, today we are going to start the day 17 matrix application worksheet, and we are going to do number 4, A and B. Okay, so if you haven't gotten that out, get it out and search up to number 4. All right, we're going to start here. So this is the nacho problem. There are 3 sizes of nacho meals on the menu: nachos, super nachos, and nachos grande. They contain different amounts of servings of chips, cheese, and salsa, as shown in the table. And the table also shows the fat, calories, and salts per serving for each item, as well as the production costs. So what I essentially did here was, it's kind of organized in a matrix. Okay, so we have one matrix where our rows represent the chips, the cheese, and the salsa, and I called those the ingredients. Okay, the columns represent the nachos, the super nachos, and the nachos grande, which I called the size. So that's this matrix right here. The second matrix is our ingredients again as our rows by the nutritional content. So the fat, the calories, and the salt. So I called that nutrition. And then finally, this last matrix over here on the right, again, is our ingredients: chips, cheese, salsa, by our production cost. If at any point of this video it's going too fast, you can always pause it. So just remember that. Okay, so we're going to work on example A and B. You will need your calculator handy because we're going to plug these matrices into our calculator and do some matrix multiplication with them. So this first example here wants us to find the fat, calorie, and salt for each of the 3 meals. So the first thing I did was I just kind of labeled the matrices that we have. The blue matrix is our ingredients by size. The pink matrix was the ingredient by the nutrition. And the orange matrix was the ingredients by the cost. So in example A, they want us to find the fat, calorie, and salt for each of the 3 meals. So I think of it this way: I want the size by the nutrition. So in order to do that, I need to utilize these 2 matrices, the ingredients by size and the ingredients by nutrition. But what we know about matrix multiplication is that if I were to try to multiply those 2 together as is, ingredients by size and ingredients by nutrition, it wouldn't work, right? Because we know these guys have to match, and they don't match, right? So what we need to do is we need to kind of manipulate. And what I'm going to do is I'm going to manipulate this one. I'm going to switch the rows and columns up. So I'm going to rewrite that one as the size by the ingredients. Okay. And now we can multiply that guy by the ingredients by the nutrition. Okay. So now these guys match, and matrix multiplication is going to work. So let's go ahead and see what that looks like. So I'm going to rewrite my matrix, my blue matrix. I'm going to switch the rows and columns up. So now my rows are going to be the size: the nachos, the super nachos, and the nachos grande. So my columns are going to be the chips, the cheese, and the salsa. So you notice in the nachos, we have 2 servings of chips, right? 1 serving of cheese and 1 serving of salsa. So we're just flip-flopping those. I don't need to change this pink matrix. That is in the way that we already have it. So I'm just going to rewrite it. Now you're going to go to your calculator. Okay, so we already talked about how we plug these into our calculator. Go ahead and edit matrix A and put this guy as matrix B. Okay, once we multiply these 2 together, we know based on matrix multiplication that we're going to be left with the size by the nutrition, okay, which is what we want. So go ahead, pause the video, plug these two into your calculator and do some matrix multiplication. So what we should have found on our calculator is we should have gotten this as our final matrix, right? Okay, so double check that. So now if I asked you, how much fat per serving is in a super nacho, right? You would be able to look at super nacho and the fat content, and we would be able to answer that question. There's 420 fat per serving, we could say, right? Or if I asked, how much salt per serving is in a nacho meal? Well, we would look at the nacho meal and the salt serving and say 410 servings of salt, right? So that's going to be our solution matrix, okay? Let's take a look at this next one. We want to find the production cost for each of the 3 meal sizes. So again, I just rewrote the matrices that we have, right? And what we have to think about is the 2 things we're going to be comparing. We're going to be comparing the meal sizes to the cost. So we want size by cost. So I zoom in on the 2 matrices that one, they have the same ingredient, right? But one deals with size and one deals with cost. But again, if we were to multiply these 2 together as is, ingredients by size and ingredients by cost, it's not going to work, right? These 2 guys don't match. So we again have to manipulate. So I'm going to manipulate this guy right here. Let's rewrite that as size by ingredient again. Then we can multiply the ingredient by the cost. And the reason I would multiply, or I would change this one, this first one, to size by ingredient, because we already have that one entered into our calculator, so I don't need to manipulate it again. So I'm just going to go ahead and rewrite these, okay? So we already said this is our matrix A, right? We already have that into our calculator, but what we don't have is we don't have the ingredient by cost matrix. So go ahead and enter that in matrix C into your calculator, okay? So pause the video right now, go ahead and enter matrix C, and then we're going to go ahead and multiply these 2 together and see what our final matrix is so that we can determine what the cost or the production cost is for each meal. So hopefully you paused the video and you did your matrix multiplication. And what we did is we got our final matrix here, right? Here's our solution matrix. So we could go ahead and then just state, all right, well, the production cost for nachos, right? The nacho meal is 70 cents. For super nachos, the production cost is going to be $1.25. And for the nacho grande, we can go ahead and say the production cost is $1.77. Okay, so this is just understanding matrix multiplication and seeing what we might have to manipulate in order to get the matrix that we want. So I always talk about the names of what the rows and what the columns represent, okay? And I look at them in this light here to see, okay, how can we manipulate so that the middle pieces are going to match when we multiply, all right? So you are going to continue working on the assigned problems that the sub has mentioned, okay? And then we'll go over any questions in class when we see each other next. Thanks, bye.